All right, in this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking with an individual competing at BKFC 64, which transpires on August the 10th. And a very intriguing fight going down as Toby Bindon and Jonno Chipchase get out there to test skills, and great getting to have Jonno back on the show. How are you doing, man?
Very good, geezer. Happy I can eat now. Normally, I'm in a very restrictive diet at this point, so I'm absolutely over the moon. Very happy.
Yeah, no, it seems like there's, a lot of benefit to that for sure and whatnot. And I guess this was something I was going to bring up later, but for some reason it kind of got me thinking about it. Like you're talking about how you're able to, eat a little differently and how it's affecting your wellness. I was noticing in like some of your last bit of action there, like some of your last fights, you've been really like kind of ardently practicing that sobriety. And you were saying before that for a lot of your earlier career fights, you had not necessarily done that. And I mean, that seems like it's making a world of difference too. So that kind of just got me thinking about that when you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's definitely helping. Getting control of my life and being in control of my life, much better than I used to be as a younger man. Is definitely, it helps me practice, helps me train and recover better, makes me a better person to be around more generally, and it means the things I'm doing are more sustainable and I'm happier in it.
Yeah, it seems like it's helped like in the physical sense, but also like you said, kind of in the like the focus kind of component. I mean, you always had like a level of obvious success throughout your, deep Muay Thai resume and stuff like that, but it seems like you're especially locked in on all levels. Like, are you just really wanting to like optimize what you're doing with the path going forward? Because like the experience and the technique and know-how with combat sports is obviously there, but it seems like you're shoring up a lot of things to really optimize what you've, already put into that.
100%, mate. Well, I'm 33 now, so it's little the back end in my prime to the back end of my long career. So I want to make sure I finish it out and do as well as I can at the back end of it. You know what I mean? That's sort of my goal in this, and especially with the opportunity of being in the BKFC, of being able to get some good notoriety, make some good money, and finish out my legacy correctly. So I want to do it as best as I can. I want to finish all these fighters.
Yeah, and the last time we had kind of talked, it was kind of leading into that BKFC debut, and you're, 2-0 now and readying for this third fight. Like it seems like you're right in the rankings mix among the UK fighters, and then eyeing like that global kind of like rankings positioning beyond that too. So I mean, it's been quite a journey so far in the sport from the last time we kind of talked.
It has, man. It has, and I've really enjoyed it. To be fair, I wasn't sure how I'd. I knew I'd do well in the sport, but I wasn't sure how I'd take to people within it, the community. But it's a great community. I love the people in it. I love the sport itself, and I hope nothing but big things for it. And I'm happy to help on that. And I'm going to. So I'm 2-0 now. I will be 3-0 in the next 2.5, 3 weeks, and then hopefully then I can get a world ranking and get a world title. That's what my aim is in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just yeah, such a great, time in the career and stuff like that. Like you kind of had that prospect series fight and then you got onto like the main stage, quote unquote, thereafter, and now like the second fight kind of on that circuit and everything like that. It just seems like the scale of everything is really rising up and stuff like that as you're, rising up in bare knuckle, as I'd kind of said before.
I feel the whole sport's rising up, and that's why when I got onto the sort of the first rungs of it, I was very excited, mate, because it is an amazing sport, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. I'm very happy to help it grow. You know, people like Perry, what he's done for it, people like Danny Quick. There's so many big names that have done well for it, and I just hope I can honor that legacy and keep it going while we take this whole thing worldwide. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess like kind of like bringing it back to like what you were saying off of the top there about how you're able to kind of like eat more in this camp. Like, is this fight in like a different division at this point? Because like I know you were at like 135 for your previous fights. Like, are you still fighting here at that contracted weight and looking to like keep rising through the bantamweight rankings, or is this in a higher weight category? I haven't really been able to, I guess, like see that differentiation, I guess.
It's two weight categories above. Yeah. So I wanted to stay active. So they asked me if I could fight in August. I was like, yeah, sweet, but it's at lightweight. But to be honest, mate, I'm not really too arsed about the weight. I'm a massive 135. I mean, I walk around 170 plus. So in terms of making this weight, it just means I can eat a little bit more. I'm right now, I'm 75, 76 kilo, and I've got to get to 68. So I've still got a cut to do.
I guess in saying that, I mean, we're talking about how good you feel in this new weight category. Like, are you maybe like still looking to climb that hierarchy in bantamweight? 'Cause you were talking about like that goal being for a world championship. Like you're talking about feeling good at lightweight, even though there's still that weight cut involved. Like, I guess where do you see your title chase taking place in terms of like a weight category?
66, I'd like, yeah. So ideally, and what I would like to move ahead with the future would be featherweight. There's a few featherweights who I've got my eyes on who once I've knocked this lad out. He's a good fighter, by the way, Toby, but I am going to knock him out. And then once I've knocked him out, there's one or two guys that I can see at a global stage that be a good fight, but I'll knock them out too. So that's my goal. That's my aim.
I mean, is it one of those things where there's like specific guys you have in mind in that regard? I mean, I don't say that to overlook this fight, obviously, but is there like specific names you have in mind, like in the crosshairs at featherweight?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I want Kai. I want Kai. That's who I'm aiming at, mate. And no disrespect to him. Don't really know him. I spoke to him once or twice. We've had a little bit of banter, but nothing serious and nothing hairy. But his style is strong, he's conditioned, he cuts a lot of weight. I can tell he's big, he has that wrestling background, so he's definitely got water cutting down and things like that. But his style in terms of being an aesthetic striker is pretty ugly like that. And he's not really a finisher like I am. So I'd like to get Kai and I'd like to knock Kai out, is my goal.
That's interesting. It just shows how intriguing of a medium that the, bare knuckle fighting championship is and what like that bare knuckle rule set kind of provides because you mentioned his style does come from like an amateur wrestling kind of base. And before the first time we had talked, I was speaking to the point of how much that UK Muay Thai style seems to like be a great base to even transfer into bare knuckle, just like that active clinch rule set, the pace that the UK Muay Thai practitioners seem to really set. So just to say that would be a very intriguing potential matchup down the line.
Oh, 100%. I mean, in terms of striking, I'm sure you know this yourself. I've fought lots of world-class strikers. A lot of the best fighters in one championship at the moment. I've fought a lot of them. So in terms of like striking generally, he can't compete with me. His conditioning's good. His boxing's all right. His dirty boxing's all right. I think he has his biggest strength is his mindset, guys. But in terms of me, it's the same. But unfortunately for him, I've also got 17 years of professional striking background, and I will knock his head clean off when I get the opportunity.
And to the point of that deep Muay Thai experience, it looks like you've still been active a fair bit in that space, which is cool to see. Like it looked like you even had a Muay Thai fight since your last bare knuckle fight. So that's awesome, man.
I'm trying to stay active as much as I can, but in terms of my fight career from now moving forward, it didn't go very well for Perry, did it? And I'm undefeated in the BKFC, and that now is my priority. So I'll probably put in a few of all the other combat sports that I like to try and compete with on the back burner a little bit, and just focusing on this now. Because a little slip up on the outside, even if it's a political decision that I shouldn't have gone against me or whatever, that could be a little bump in the road now. Like I said, as you've seen with what happened with Perry at the weekend. So I'm trying to avoid that and just stick to one specific goal now, and that's BKFC gold.
I mean, that's just interesting though, in the sense of like how that could inform your activity. Like you've been very active across multiple combat sports, and like you were saying before, you want to stay busy. But the fact that that could solely be focused on bare knuckle, I think that could facilitate a potential fast climb. Obviously, if everything falls into its ideal place for you.
That's what I'm hoping. And with that mindset, what I try and do now is I've been a Muay Thai fighter for so long, but I sports based on activity. You know what I mean? So I've had years where I've fought 7, 8, 9, 10 times in a year, and I like to try and keep that type of mentality. So what I'll be doing is I'll just be going to all the gyms of people that I know who are good fighters, and we'll be having basically like some in-house fights almost. You know what I mean? Nothing official and nothing sort of too malicious, but I do what I keep my mindset on activity. So I already have a few after this fight. I already have a few brutal spars lined up to keep my mindset going, to keep my goals in place, and I kind of learned that from there's an MMA fighter, I don't know if you've heard of him, called Cedric Doumbé, and I had a period in my career when I had a little lapse in it, and he came to our gym to train, and we had some great spars, and it kept me interested, and it kept my foot in the door. So I kind of want to try and apply that same mindset to that now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'd actually seen you had posted that when he was the Glory welterweight champion and how you were sparring with him and whatnot. And your daughter was, I guess, just like really excited about that. And I guess even thereafter, with him being in the PFL, like your daughter is just like so excited to see him do so well in mixed martial arts. So yeah, I love to see all that, man.
She loves him, mate. She loves him. He gave her a lollipop after we'd sparred, and she never forgot it. So she always, anytime she sees him on social media or anything, she always remembers him, and it does make her happy. Funnily, it does. I always try. I'd say when James Lilley came over to spar, which I've got some coming up with him soon actually. But when he came to spar last, my kids were there and they watched, and then afterwards, when they're watching me fight, they'll check out him and those links they get excited about, which makes me very excited and happy too. So I'm glad that they get to experience that and witness all these great fighters come and beat the dad up. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say you're right on the same wavelength with me in a lot of regards. I was gonna reference that work with James Lilley, like obviously a guy that's been so accomplished in bare knuckle overall, both capturing world titles and contending for titles and different companies. It seems like a lot of great work has been had with him. I imagine that's been really like sharpening the proverbial tools also.
Oh God, yeah, James is a great athlete and he's a great boxer. And the first time we sparred, I picked up a lot from him, to be honest. The way he uses his jab, the way he uses his head movement, it's not quite traditional boxing, even though he has a background in that. And it did, and I do learn a lot from him anytime I work with him. And he's a very respectful top guy as well. So I have a lot of time for him. Just even outside of the ring, outside of us working together. So he is a friendship that I've made in the bare knuckle that I'm very happy with.
Yeah, and it's just been great to follow the journey too. Like I'd seen an anecdote the other day that I thought was kind of worth bringing up because you were saying how it was like a funny story 8 years ago you had unretired from fighting and then you were, in a bit of a spot at the time, but it sort of like brought you out of that to like I guess see like the success Conor McGregor had been having at the time. So just kind of cool to see he has that ownership stake and BKFC now and everything like that. It seems like things have a funny way of kind of panning out in a sense.
They do, geezer. They do. And with that, by the way, I'm going into my gym because I have to get a charger so my phone doesn't die. but,
Yeah, yeah.
but at the same time, no, I'm going to pick up on that point, though, because that was, for me, Connor was, at that point, I'd been a fighter for so long, and then I had kids, so I didn't give up on fighting, but my career path kind of changed. And seeing him coming through the way he did, it did inspire me. It's going to get a bit loud in here for a second. One sec.
All good, man.
Definitely inspired that. Right. This is my gym, by the way.
Oh, I love that, getting a little peek behind the
Stop.
scenes.
I'm still on it. Still on it. One sec, mate.
Yeah, no worries, man.
How many charger? Shit. Yeah, no, it did. And Connor did inspire me. And it always seems to work that way. So equally, him and Brendan Lockney in a post, they train together a lot and stuff. And Brendan was one of them. When I came back to the sport, he was the first person I saw fight live where I was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely getting back into fighting. So it does seem like all these things interlink. But Connor being an owner now, I mean, doesn't really get much bigger than that, does it? Especially in terms of, although it doesn't get much bigger than that, but I'm not happy with him because of what he said about Perry, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a little on the questionable side for sure. I thought that was kind of like a kicking a man when he's down sort of moment almost. That was kind of like how I took it.
I don't really get it either, to be honest with you, because Perry's a sound guy, you know. And I thought they got on, to be honest, mate. And I know Jake Paul did beat him, but you know what the car keys are? So I'm trying to turn my engine on. The under here. Hey, God, God. Um, yeah, no, he kicked him while he was down somewhat, mate, and I didn't like that. And I also don't like the idea that Perry didn't do well because Jake beat him. I mean, I knew Jake was going to beat him because Mike's not a traditional boxer, and Jake can box. You know, people might not like Jake, but he's a good boxer and he's a big motherfucker. So, like, in terms of how Mike did, I don't think Conor would do any better. So I thought he did kick him a little bit while he was down. But I'm assuming it's also something to do with Mike released another promotion, didn't he? Is it Dirty Boxing?
Yeah, he did.
I don't know if that's something to do with it. I've spoke to a few people. I can't say what I've been told, but it did. I wasn't really a fan of it. And again, like I said, I did a little video about it. It also brings that into question. The other BKFC fighters, like, are we just going to let Mike get fired that way because he lost a boxing match? I mean, if there's not anything more to it, we're gonna need to know. You know what I mean? And I am one of them. I try and be a moral person as best as you can in a business like fighting, and I won't allow just somebody like that to get booted just because they lost a boxing match. So it would be one of them where I would try and stand up, and I hope other fighters would if Mike does actually get axed for losing a boxing match to Jay Paul.
Yeah, I would hate to see that too. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just like a social media like sounding off kind of thing, and there's not actually anything to it. But I mean, in a way, it kind of ties into what you were touching on before, almost like you were talking about solely, I guess, allocating your focus to bare knuckle and how, like, I mean, even theoretically, if you took a Muay Thai fight and lost, like, maybe even a questionable decision, it's like there's still that optics thing from some people where it's like, oh, well, it's a different combat sport, but like, oh, he lost a fight, like he's lost some momentum in a certain regard. Like,
100
yeah.
also takes away a little bit from the BKFC, doesn't it? So let's say if I'm smashing it in the BKFC and I'm 5, 6, 7-0, which I'm planning to be, and then I get beat in a different sport, people will look at that sport and go, is that sport better than the BKFC? Because, like you said, the optics of the general casual watcher and being in the sport itself, being sort of placed within it. So your perspective is actually more realistic and based in fact. It's different completely. And even though it's unfortunate, the majority of the fans of all combat sports are casuals, aren't they? The diehards are thin on the ground for us all for a reason. Because even though there is always diehard in any combat sport, the general people that are going to watch it won't have enough time to really be massively that invested. So it is a thing where he did kind of shoot himself in the foot, sorry. But I understand it because, mate, if somebody offered me Jake Paul money, I'd be like, I kind of want to do it.
Yeah, it is. I was actually thinking about that earlier today, funny enough. Like, it is kind of one of those things, and not even in like a put down kind of way, but there are a lot of like casual observers of combat sports who will like just check out, like, say, the big fights. And I think they kind of just look at it in terms of like this almost like umbrella term kind of mentality, for lack of a better way to phrase it. Like, just they'll specifically look at like, oh, well, they lost a fight. So maybe it calls into question some of the other aspects, even though, like, as we're talking about it, we realize bare knuckle and Queensbury rules boxing are entirely different combat sports.
Oh, completely. And Mike's wheelhouse has always been and will always be just being a tough motherfucker, going forward and punching people's heads in. Or in MMA, he was a good elbow too for that reason. You know, he's strong, he's dense, he likes to get stuck in. Boxing's more strategic. Well, it's the strategies in it are different, not more strategic. I shouldn't say that. So somebody like Jake Paul, I called it for exactly how it would be, to be fair, mate. I knew he would jab him and frustrate him. And then when Mike started to get frustrated and start trying to close the distance, he'd get caught. And unfortunately, it's the way it played out. I still had in my heart I wanted Mike just to land a crazy one, but he's not really a power puncher like that, you know what I mean? So he more makes people quit or grinds them out. It was, it is an interesting one to keep an eye on. I do want to know the full story. I think Feldman's coming out in the next day or so with the news on what's actually going on with the Perry situation. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Oh, like he's gonna provide some clarification on like what the next step for Perry is, or like what do you mean by that? Sorry.
I think it's clarifying what Connor said, seeing sort of we're going to get um, Dave's perspective on it, which is what I've been waiting for. You know what I mean? I do want to know what he thinks on the subject as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a perspective worth having with all of the stuff that's going on that we're talking about. But I mean, just kind of pivoting the focus back to what you're getting up to, because I mean, this is a quality opponent. Like I saw you had the post where you were talking about God of War versus the War Dog. And I mean, this is your opponent's fifth bare knuckle fight, and they've kind of had their, I guess, efforts through like all the big leagues, really. I mean, BKB, BYB, and now BKFC. It seems like you're obviously confident heading into this as far as like your ability to finish your opponent, but also the respect being there. So I guess like what are your thoughts on your opponent's resume and just general skill set coming up here?
He comes from a Muay Thai background, I believe. So he has a bit of it's either Muay Thai or K1. I think it's Muay Thai. But one or two of his previous opponents in that world, I know, and they messaged me when they saw it and spoke to me about him. And then I checked out his bare knuckle. And listen, I have a lot of respect for the guy. Anyone that gets in the bare knuckle situation, first of all, they have my respect. He's been doing well in it. Um, he's coming down a weight to fight me. Um, but it's going to come down to skill, speed, and power, mate. And I don't think he has any of that to trouble me. In my opinion. Although I always say this, it's fighting, so anything can bloody happen. But in my opinion, and I've been doing it longer than him, I've had a lot more pro fights than him. My resume is far deeper than his, and the way I see it, I'll land on him early. I'll land on him quick, and by the time he wakes up, you will have to check the replay to see how I knocked him out because you won't have a fucking clue what's happened.
Yeah, such an exciting fight. I mean, I've enjoyed both of your bare knuckle efforts in the past and just, yeah, an interesting matchup and really shows your gamesmanship jumping up two weight categories here, like with your previous efforts being at bantamweight. Like, I know you were saying your like world title trajectory is something you're eyeing more so at featherweight, but yeah, definitely shows the gamesmanship fighting two weight categories up at lightweight here from your norm so far in BKFC.
Yeah, well, when they call me, I'll answer and I'll say, yeah. They could have asked me to fight at heavyweight, and I'd say, yeah. No, in my sport, it's been known for many years that you want me to fight, you just have to ask me. That's all. So the second day, especially when I'm dedicated to a company and I want to make it in that company, a company like the BKFC, it's one of them. It's like for me, it's like being signed to the UFC. When you get the call, you don't say no. So they could have asked me to fight in middleweight. They could have asked me to fight at heavyweight. They could have asked me to fight. The only thing I would have said no to is if it would have been like, can you fight at flyweight? It would have been like, probably not. but but it's just one of them as well. I'm getting older. I've always done massive weight cuts. I mean, when I fight at 61, I'm generally cutting from 73. That's that. It's like nearly £20. So it's one of them where now that I'm getting on a little bit, I don't really want to be doing those weight cuts. These rounds are shorter, so it can be more explosive. No gloves on, so I don't give a fuck how big you are. When this smashes into your face, you could be 6 foot tall at a heavyweight, or you could be 5'5" and a bloody fucking bantamweight. You're still gonna go down and go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely shown that through multiple combat sports at this point, but really been great getting to talk to you, Jonno. I appreciate you making the time. And I mean, I don't think we mentioned it in the body of the recorded conversation, but just cool that you were able to, be so flexible and make the time and get this going today. It's been great getting the insights from you ahead of this fight, but also kind of wanted to give you the floor if maybe there was like a final parting thought you were wanting to add as we're kind of wrapping up, man. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate your time too, mate, and I'm glad we could get it together as well. Yeah, so I just want first of all, I want to thank my sponsors. I always have a good array of sponsors. My main sponsor is Bobhead, which is a motorcycle clothing company in the UK. Very cool company. If you've not checked it out, check out Bobhead. I also have others, but that's my main one. In terms of Toby, he's a good fighter. He has my respect. All bare knuckle fighters have my respect because it's such a crazy sport. But he's good. He's a big lump. He's going to come for a fight. it's just one of them where my accuracy and my skill will be too much for him. But afterwards, after I've knocked him out, I'll buy him a beer and we'll become friends probably for life. You know, he seems like a top guy. In terms of the future, I'm coming for you, Kai. I'm gonna get you, Kai Stewart. Remember the name Jonno Chipchase. I know he's already checked me out. He already knows me anyway, but that he'll see me very soon across from him in the squared circle.
Well, so many exciting things on the horizon, it seems like, and chief among them, this August 10th fight. I'll certainly be checking out BKFC 64 against Toby Bindon. And thanks so much for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker. It was great getting your insights again, Jono. And yeah, you have a
Thank
good
you,
rest of your day,
Dees.
man.
I will. I'm going training now. Thank you too, man. You have a good day. Yeah.